I've done a lot of research over the past year, and I definitely get the sense of, but out of here, this is not my problem, it's being dealt with by various aspects of government. But I'm feeling, and from the annual report of Manx Radio making a loss again, and struggling for funding, and also the future of it, that it's overdue for a review looking at what the island wants from public service broadcasting.
Can you give us a bit more detail on that then?
For instance, the Treasury has to save money. How can it be right that £1 million a year is funding Manx Radio when the government in other areas are cutting essential services, reducing services, Meals on Wheels for the most vulnerable, and looking at the whole aspect of the most vulnerable people in society? The Isle of Man does not have huge amounts of money. The Manx Radio, which I do think does an amazing job, and I should probably declare an interest when this matter comes up, because I have family connections to broadcasters in the newsroom and in the specialist music programmes.
Can you explain that for me, please?
Chris Caine and his brother Howard Caine, my husband and brother-in-law, are involved in delivering Manx Radio programmes. So I think a very good understanding both in terms of Manx Radio and the high level and wide variety of programmes that they deliver. And I think from reading the annual report, an understanding that how things are actually operating on a shoestring. And is it right that public service broadcasting should also be commercial, in my view, competing slightly unfairly with other media providers on the island? And also, when it's the nation station, as the jingle says, and as it says in the studio, what does the Isle of Man want from its station? My issue with it, I suppose, in terms of its funding, we have the money coming out of Treasury, but the licence conditions are set by the Communications Commission, which is in the Department of Home Affairs. So they set what Manx Radio must deliver. Then the Treasury says, oh, we want to save money. So what, can we reduce the amount of subvention? Well, then what if they can't meet the 40% of speech radio that their licence condition says they must? Does the Isle of Man, population-wise, even want 40% of speech radio in the current climate when everything is shorter, snappier, news media, social media? Are the Communications Commission forcing Manx Radio to deliver something that's unwieldy and not right for the current digital age? And then you get into the whole digital. Why are we propping up AM transmitters for TT radio and Tynwald radio? If you want to listen to Tynwald, many people now, you can listen to it online through the Tynwald feed. So how much are we forcing Manx Radio to do at huge expense that can be covered by other areas? And I suppose the bottom line for all this is the Isle of Man, according to the 2010 report that I read on Manx Radio, the Isle of Man pays an additional £29 for every BBC licence fee payer. On top of the £147.50, we're all paying £29 for Manx Radio. I'm not saying it's not good value for money. I'm thinking, well, out of the £5 million that we send to the BBC or is collected for the BBC, why don't we get the proportion that funds local radio in other places to fund our station?